Morning, everyone. It is the 23rd of September, Monday, brand new week towards the end of the month. I hope you have been doing well. So, gold has continued to climb to the upside, forming new autumn highs or time highs at 26.30. We have a whole series of PMI data to be released for the Eurozone, for the UK, and also for the US. And tomorrow we have the RBA interest rates decision. So we'll break all that down. We'll look for some possible trade setups, and we'll have any discussions. If you have any questions, put it into the chat, put it into the feedback or the comments below. But first, okay, we are back. Good morning, Diana. How are you doing? Hey, Jinwei. Hope you're doing well. Hey, Augusto. Good afternoon. Hey, Erwin. Good morning. Hope you're doing fantastic. Let me know if you can. I'm pretty sure you can see me okay, hear me all right. Let me know if there's any issues. Um, if you're on the session, I see many of you on the session. If you're on the session, do remember to drop a message and say hi. Let me know where you're joining us from. For all the regulars, a big welcome back. Now, if you can help me out massively, do remember to click on that like and subscribe button. That would help immensely. And also, if you haven't already, do check out the other video that I released to the members on Friday, to everyone else on Saturday or Sunday, I think, about explaining what happened during the FOMC last week and some longer term projections across the, I think, euro, yen, gold, and Bitcoin. So do check that out if you haven't already. Okay, and also, hey, leave a comment in the video. Let me know what you thought about it as well. Okay, so now, what has happened? A whole bunch of, not a lot, apart from gold, right? Like I was just saying earlier, gold rocketed up this afternoon to 26.30 and a new all-time high. Looks like it might be retracing, but you have to be a super brave person to be selling gold at this point. I'll tell you more about that later as we get to that. Make sure I'm on H1 time frame. Yep, okay. Then also we saw the yen continue to retrace up towards that 61.8 level, and the dollar index is still sitting above that 100.60 level. So we'll break all that down. We'll talk about what else to look out for this week. And if you have any questions at any point in time, please feel free to put it into the chat and let me know. Okay? Thanks for that, Diana. Now, looking at what happened on Friday last week. I was, again, apologies. Those of you who joined me on Friday, why is it not loading? Those of you who joined me on Friday last week, massive apologies. I was sniffing and sneezing through the session, but we got through it. Why is it not spinning? Okay. But we got through the session, and now we are, yeah, okay, we got to that point. So this is what happened on Friday with the Canadian retail sales number. It was a minus 0.3, got revised to a minus 0.2, expected a 0.5, came out at a 0.9, while core retail sales went from a 0.3 to a 0.4. Expectation or forecast was at a 0.2. Right, so all that, what happened with that on the Canadian dollar news was we saw CAD, as a result of the news, push down, right? It did push down slightly from that 1.3570 level down within the hour to 1.3543. before being outside the Bollinger Band and coming right back up, sitting in that slightly horizontal fashion, kind of very similar to what happened on the dollar index, right? An inverse of what happened on the dollar index. So that was what happened on Friday last week through to today. We do have the BOJ, well, not the BOJ, the banks in Japan, or Japan having a holiday, a bank holiday in Japan, in observance of the autumn annual autumnal equinox day, right? Basically, bank holiday in Japan. As a result of that, we did see the yen sit right across. It's losing a bit of ground, but still sitting in that at that one just below that 144.50 level. We do also have a whole series of PMI numbers to be released, like I said, for the Eurozone, manufacturing and services PMI for the French, the German, and the whole Eurozone. We have the UK PMI numbers to be released as well, and the US PMI numbers to be released. The French ones coming out in 7 minutes. We'll see what happens to that on the euro, but it looks like it's starting to lose some ground. I'm anticipating that we might see, as the dollar looks like it's trying to gain back, we might see the euro PMI numbers come out pretty much similar or a little bit weaker, which might bring it down lower. Very similar with the UK manufacturing and services PMI. Could be a little bit weaker, could bring some downside onto the pound dollar. While if you look at manufacturing PMI for the US, 47.9 to 48.6, and services PMI from a 55.7 to a 55.3, could be a bit of a mixed bag, but I think that we might see this data here pushing the US dollar or the dollar index slightly to the upside. Overall, I don't think it's going to move too much today. Okay. So just a quick snapshot that's for today. June Marinas, good morning. How are you doing? Hey, Angel Case, hope you're doing well. Deepak asking which methodology do I use. I use the Jin methodology. No. So basically, just to remind everyone again how I approach the markets. I look at the fundamentals first. I look at the news. I look at what news could be coming out, what has happened, try and develop a bias, right, of where price should be and where it could be heading towards. Then I look at the technical basis, and from the technical basis, look for setups that fits with the bias that I develop from the trend and also from the fundamental analysis. Right, so I do consider trend, Fibonacci. I got my TSR MACD. Sometimes, if you point it out to me, I look at chart patterns as well. I look at fair value gaps, and not so much on order blocks, but some fair value gaps. I look at trend lines and channels. I put everything together. So it's not really one specific method, but I put everything together just to get a more wholesome view of the markets and where we think it could be heading towards. All right. Hey, Richard, how are you doing? So I hope I answered your question there, Deepak. Now, with what we have today, like I said, not expecting huge moves, but we are looking at that consolidation and a possible push back up. There are a few things to look out for this week. All right, this week. Oh, what is happening? Hang on. Ah, Forex Factory is down. Um, Something wrong with Forex Factory. Are you guys facing that same problem? That was a bit of a surprise. Okay. Now let's use investing.com instead then. What am I doing? How do I do this? Okay, hang on a second. I've allowed it. Okay. Oh man. Sorry. As we always have. Okay. I got something wrong with Forex Factory on my end. Okay, we'll just make do with it for now. I don't want to spend too much time on that. Augusto's work, it works for Augusto, works for Richard. Now I'm curious what happened. Let me just try one more. It was being odd just then. Is it my end? Give me 1 second, guys. Oh, give me a couple of. Let me just check. No, still not working on my end. Um, let's see. No, it seems to be working. Just checked if it's down. It's not down, so I don't know what's happening. Okay. Anyway, try a Google search and then click on the link. Okay, let's try that. Can't type. Nope. It's always a new thing every time. Okay. Anyway, what are we doing? So that's tomorrow. Okay, I was gonna go through the whole list of it, but tomorrow we do have the RBA with the interest rate decision. Is likely to hold at a 4.35%. We also do have, not tomorrow. Yeah, let's look at this week. We also do have the. I'm not used to this one, so spare me. On Wednesday, was it Wednesday? No, Thursday. We have the Aussie Aussie CPI there, right, on Thursday morning. We have the Aussie CPI to be released. It looks like it's going to go from a 3.5 to a 2.8%. A slowdown on CPI for the Aussies. So those are the few things, the two main things that I want to look out for. I was going to go through a whole list of them, but let's skip that for now just because I don't know what's happening on this guy. Oh, that's back. It's back. All right. So Aussie interest rate decision 4.35% tomorrow, most likely going to hold. Not expecting a surprise there, but we're going to pay some attention to the rate statement because it is likely to talk about the inflation, a possible slowdown in inflation growth, CPI looking to go from a 3.5 down to a 2.8%. Okay, so we'll look out for that on Wednesday. On Thursday at 3:30 p.m. GMT plus 8, we have the Swiss National Bank with their interest rate decision, taking rates down 25 basis points from 1.25 to 1%. We'll look out for that as well. On Thursday night, we have the US GDP to be released, a slight slowdown in economic activity, 3% down to 2.9, despite what Chair Powell has been saying about how economic activity is still strong in the US or solid in the US. So we'll look out for that GDP number and pay some attention to that. Chair Powell was speaking on Thursday at a pre-recorded opening remarks at the U.S. Treasury Market Conference. So not expecting too much because of it being pre-recorded. And then Canadian GDP, but more importantly, on Friday, core PCE price index for the US 0.2 to stay at a 0.2%. All right, so a couple of interesting news items to pay attention to, in particular, Friday core PCE price index, US GDP on Thursday, Swiss National Bank on Thursday with their policy rates decision, Aussie CPI on Wednesday morning, looking like a slowdown. Aussie interest rate decision on Tuesday. BOJ Governor Ueda speaking at a business leaders meeting. Not going to do too much, I think. And then today we have a whole bunch of PMI numbers to be released. You see that I clicked on the wrong button again. You see that the rates decision PMI was a slowdown. Okay, I don't know what's happening here. Okay, we'll keep it there. I'm not going to touch that. So now, with all that craziness, let's look at what could happen on first the dollar index. Dollar spiking right back up, right, pushing right back up on on Friday last week. I was looking for it to test and break that 100.60 level to the downside. It did not happen. It pushed up, it came back down to 100.60, and it pushed and continued to climb to the upside. So let's take that one away. Now, the main thing that you want to pay attention to is this trend line on the dollar index, right? This bearish trend line that we've seen since this point, even if you dragged it right up, you'll see that it continued that way. So again, you have one line there, or you could have that whole line pushing to the downside. Okay, so that's holding, that has been since 16th of September, no, since the 12th of September, tested, rejected. 19th after the FOMC, tested, rejected, now climbing back up again. There we go. So today being the 23rd of September, dollar index pushing a little bit higher, now at 101. I'm looking for it to test a little bit higher towards the trend line. And the question is, can it break through? Even if it does break through, we have 61.8, which was held before. Okay, that makes sense. I wouldn't drag this down, or I could drag this down. It's still at that point there. So considering that whole area, now looking at this, okay, take that away. All right. So we've got this whole move to the downside. We have 61.8 right here. We have that previous high there. So I took away that rectangle, but what we're still looking at is dollar index possibly trading up to that trend line. Even if it breaks that trend line, we want it to break that whole area first. What I'm anticipating is for it to push up, test, and then come back down again. Okay, I'm looking for it to do that. I don't think it's worth doing this. Breaking 61, so it's coming up to that point. Okay, so now putting that into words on the dollar index, we're currently at 101. If it breaks higher, could retest bearish trend line and reject to trade down to 100.60. Alternatively, if it continues to break, if trend line broken, needs to break above 101.40 for further upside. I don't think that's going to happen. I think more that way. Okay, so that's what I'm looking at. What I've said here is basically currently trading at about that 101 level, could retest the bearish trend line and reject the trade down to 100.60. If the trend line is broken, it needs to break above 101.40, which is up here, for further upside, but it looks like it's likely to test and reject back down, right? If not, if it's broken, then we could see it get up to 101.80. Now, Aussie Cat, yes, no worries, I can do that. Now with that, that's good, makes sense. Test, whereas main thing is that area, I would say. So now, then we look at the Kiwi dollar. Okay, and I've taken away Aussie Kiwi, I've taken away Euro Pound. We just don't like those two pairs for now. We'll think of what else to add in at a later stage. Now, looking at the Kiwi dollar, again with that bullish trend line, we had a bearish trend line on dollar index, so we have a bullish trend line on the Kiwi. That makes sense. That didn't trigger, take that away. What I'll be looking for in this case would be, like, I think I've been saying through last week, that I've been looking for that downside on the Kiwi. On Thursday, it tested 6270 area before pushing back down. What I'll be looking for here is that if it breaks that trend line, no worries, Diana. Right? If it breaks that trend line, it's currently at that 23.6 level. I would urge a little bit more caution and look for it to break that 38.2 level, which would be in that triangle. I do like drawing my triangles, right, in that area there. So look for it to break to the downside if we continue to see dollar strength. All right, you're looking at below 0.62. This could also be through to tomorrow with the Aussie as well. So 6190, stop loss could be 25. Take profit will be there at 30. To the downside, no, actually we can go a little bit earlier. 6195, stop loss 20, take profit 40 to that level there. Right at that point there. Okay, if it doesn't break, if it goes down and bounces back up, then I'll look for a reaction at that resistance. But right now, I want to try and see what happens in this triangle. So Kiwi 6195, 20 to 40 to the downside. Sell 0.6195, stop loss 20, take profit 40 to the downside. Hey Nwachuku, how you doing? Then onto the Aussie dollar, right? We looked for that test and reject. Again, I'll zoom out right here. That didn't get, I'll zoom out right here. You can see that it tested and rejected from this area. You look at it on the H4 time frame in this area as well. Between, well, just below 6880, it's rejected once, twice, three times, and at a lower level, closer to below 6.8, one time, two times, and it's forming up again. So again, remember that tomorrow interest rate decision for the Aussies, it looks like we're not going to see a rate cut decision from the RBA, but with forecasted data of the CPI expected to go from a 3.5 to 2.8, we could be expecting the RBA to talk about possible rate cut scenarios, right? And if they do talk about possible rate cut scenarios, or at least give a bit of a timeline on a possible rate cut, then same thing in that area. And in fact, if you try this, let's see if that works. If you try this, right, you have a channel. You have a channel on the Aussie dollar, and you want it to break out of that channel, tested that resistance level. You want it to break out of that channel to the downside. If you look at your fib levels, again, that 23.6 level is going to come into play. If the dollar continues to strengthen, look for it to break out of that channel. Look for it to break that 23.6 level. Then it could trade down to this level here, or that 61.8, which if you're looking at 6775, stop loss will be about 20 pips. Take profit, you have 40, you have 65 to the downside, right? But it needs to break that area first. Again, if it tests and bounce, then we'll look for that rejection of that resistance level back down again. Okay, so 6775, 20 to 65 to the downside. Okay, sell at 0.6775, stop loss 20, take profit 65 to the downside. Any stress? All good? Then, let me see. We look at the Aussie CAD out when we get to the CAD. After we get to the CAD, then looking at the pound dollar, again, didn't really break lower following the following the BOE rate decision. Didn't really trade higher either, and it's sitting along that resistance turned support level at 1.33, right? Tested a little bit higher late on Friday. You shouldn't have entered that. It broke a bit before coming back down. Now trading right back down. We do have, oh man, okay. We do have the rate, the PMI. Oh, look at the Euro, the German PMI. Not great news. Just got released. Not great news. 40 and 50. Biggest slowdown on the Eurozone. So 4 o'clock is going to be interesting. We might see further downside on the Euro dollar, and that's why we could see that upside a continual push to the upside on the dollar index. That's why it's pushing up right now. Right? So we're going to see what happens at this level. So now again, looking at the pound dollar, we could do with clearing up some of these lines. Take that one away for now. I don't need that. And that as well. Okay. So now looking at this, again, you have that channel. Again, we want to see it break that trend line. Again, we have 23.6. It's not the strongest level that could signal a big retrace back down. So you just want to be careful with that. And also, I'm realizing that, hey, look, we're trying to sell the Kiwi down if it breaks that. We're trying to sell the Aussie down if it breaks lower. We could be looking to sell the pound down. It looks like in general, we're looking at some dollar, some consistent or sustained recovery in the dollar strength. So something to watch out for. So I think that if you look at that, we look at a sell down 1.3250. I'm not at this point. I'm not super convinced, right? Because if you look at that level, it needs to break. Okay, so you want to see it break and see what happened here on the 28th of August. So break down that way, then you look to sell. And I would keep my stop loss quite tight on this. So 1.3245, stop loss 30, take profit 70 to the downside. Okay. Pound dollar, we will look to sell at 1.3245, stop loss 30, take profit 70 to the downside. So these are all dollar strength scenarios. Dollar recovery in dollar strength. We can look to sell the Kiwi, sell the Aussie, and sell the pound. I feel like at this point, as we look at the dollar index, it's being influenced by this series of data. That's why we're seeing the dollar bounce. So just be very careful with that. Okay, because it could very well again come down to this point, test and bounce right back up again. So I just, what we're doing now is we're just catching a snapshot of what's happening in the markets. Generally, we're still seeing that dollar weakness being applied. So we want to be careful with that. Hang on, I'm just trying to figure out, or trying to think about whether we're going to see sustained downside or we're going to see a push back up. That one's there. We have 23 at that point on the H4 time frame. Okay. So what I'm thinking here is on the H1, if you see it break that trend line, you see it push down, you have a quick trade down to this 1.3175 level, right? And then in the longer term, if it does break that level, if it does break below this 1.3160 level, then we could see a more sustained push to the downside. That's how I would break up that trade. Then with that, looking at the euro, it's already pushing to the downside. We know why it's got that big move, it's because of the French and the German, especially the German PMI numbers, the manufacturing and the services PMI pushing to the downside, pushing the euro back down. We were anticipating that downside of the euro, but it didn't retrace high enough and came in a little bit earlier. So now it's pushing down. Take that away. I'm pretty sure that it would be outside of the Bollinger, right outside of the Bollinger. All right. Again, we have that trend line. Wouldn't do anything here on the euro unless it breaks not just the trend line, but that low on Thursday. Maybe because we've been so, well, Kiwi, Aussie, and Pound, we've been looking to sell it down. Maybe what you can be looking for on the euro is a test and then a rebound back up. I don't even need this line. Take that one away. We have this point, which makes sense. Take that one away. I want to renew that line, just shorten it up to this point here. Okay, it's pushing lower. If it stays above 1.1080, we look for a test and a rebound that way. So 1.10, no, we look for that. We look for that. We look for it to push down, break that trend line, look like it's trying to break that level, come down to about 1.1060, look for it to rebound from here. Then you look to buy 1.1090, stop loss would be about 25. Take profit would be, well, could be that 90 pips to the upside. Right? Could be, and you've seen that bounce. You've seen that bounce at this point once and twice already. So we're looking to see if it can rebound from here. If it doesn't, if it breaks this level, then you've got that straight line down towards the support. But I'm going to consider the possibility of it bouncing from this level. 1.1090, 25 to 90. By 1.090, no, 1.1090, 1.10, 1.1090. We're looking for a stop loss of 25 to a take profit of 90. Stop loss of 25 to a take profit of 90 to the upside. So ideally, that would mean that the dollar tests and rejects to push down. Then you're going to see the euro dollar test and reject to push back up. Okay, so dollar strength, we're looking at the Kiwi, the Aussie, the pound. Dollar weakness, we're looking at the euro. And also, when we come to the yen, we're seeing the yen push down. Remember on Friday, I was talking about this triangle, right? It's kind of broken this trend line, so I'm tempted to take this away. Now you see have it there. So you got 61.8 formed from this move down. You've seen, take that. So that didn't trigger, take that away. We're looking for it to test and reject. You're seeing it test that 61.8 and that trend line to push to the downside. Still relatively early days. Still relatively early days. And you also see that as much as the last hour or the current hour, we are seeing the dollar strengthen. We're still seeing the dollar yen push to the downside. So I am looking for dollar yen to sell down. 23.6 makes sense. Slowly it could break that trend line. And if it does break that trend line, we look for it to push to the downside below that point. So 1.143. We look for it to break 143. Stop loss, we'll have it relatively tight at 35. Take profit, you have 90, or you have 100 and 200 to the downside. Again, I don't see big news. I don't see massive news. I don't think we're going to see it drop 200 pips to the downside. As much as I would love to have that 200 pip move to the downside, I don't see that happening. Go for that 95 first, come down. If it looks like it's going to break towards that 95 level, then you go down further. You move your stop loss to break even, secure some profits, drag the take profit lower, and ride it down towards 141. But for now, we want to see what happens at this point, which is that 23.6 level, to trade down towards 50. Hey Ahmed, how are you doing? Good morning. Thank you for that. I like it when you guys agree. At least I know I'm kind of on the right track together with you guys. Now, so with that, 143.35 to 95. Where am I? 143. Stop loss 35. Take profit 95 to the downside. Good, I'm happy with that. So dollar strength, Kiwi, Aussie, pound. Dollar weakness, Euro and US yen. Okay, Euro yen, when we look at it, it's pushing right down. Why is it pushing down? Yen dragging down, possibly because of the Euro yen. Euro dollar dragging down. So Euro yen dragging down right now. And I sound like um, I sound like I'm saying the same thing over and over. Trend line there, it's coming down to test a horizontal support. It's going to test the diagonal support level. We want it to break both the horizontal and the diagonal support to trade to the downside. Pretty much said that for all the currency pairs so far, right? And it still makes sense. Okay, we take that one away because that's all done. That's up there. Now, if you look at this 38.2, no, 23.6 is not, I wouldn't say it's broken yet. Remember, Bollinger Band, is way outside Bollinger Band, 23.6, what could happen? Hesitation before a break, but we're looking for that break to the downside. You're looking at below 159, stop loss quite wide at 60, 70 pips to the downside. Take profit 140 to the downside. Okay, so no, stop loss 70, take profit 140 to the downside. I'm not writing that. Okay, so Euro yen, test, reject, break 159, stop loss 70, take profit 140, still 1 to 2 to the downside towards the 61.8. Good. Then pound yen trading down again because pound dollar is trading down. If that happens, pound yen, that did push up from what we were talking about on Friday, but then it pushed up a little bit, pushed up about 70 pips before it turned back down. Okay. Um, Euro yen has a trade, has a, yeah, I saw that one at 38.2. So it's just about that 159 level. So at 159, so below 159, you can go 158.80. Then your stop loss, I would still like it above this point just because of that. But you could also deal with a stop loss at about 50 to the downside. 50, I think that one that was the one that I deleted there. Yeah, so that aligns. The thing about the previous fib levels, like pretty much once it's broken, right? Once it's broken, I kind of tend to ignore it because it's done already, unless it's, yeah, once it's broken, I would tend to ignore it unless it's been held many times. But you can see that this 50, the last time, if I put in that dotted line here, right? The last time it came up to that 50, it actually didn't do too much, right? It just tested and the next moment it broke right through already. So I feel like that 50 is broken, it's done. That's why I'm looking at 159. But yeah, I think even if you waited for it to break 38.2 at that 158, 80 or 90 level, that would still make sense as well. Okay. But yeah, good spot there, Diana. Then on to pound yen, wide range, right? Wide range. It held 194. Let's push right down. Take all that away for now. My support level is down there. Okay, that's an interim level. That makes sense. Now at this point here, dragging it up. Again, you're looking at 23, which is right there. I'm saying the same thing. Considering I'm saying the same thing through today's session, it's either that I'm going to be massively correct. I don't know if that's a word, massively correct, or I'm going to be entirely wrong. Okay, so I'm looking for that to break, and that's just because of what the dollar is doing right now. So we're looking for it to break down. Seems like today is a sell day. Could be, but and also that's why if you notice, like I'm doing a 40 pip, 60, that one's a little bit wider. I'm not expecting a big move. Medium, medium size kind of move. Okay. Um, break lower. Yeah. So it might just come down, look like it's gonna trigger, then bounce right back up again at the close of the hour at 5 o'clock, which is in 2 hours. So at that point, wait, let me see. That one's coming out. That's pushing down. What if the pound dollar bounces back? Could do, but I'm thinking pound yen. Consideration was that because we're looking at US yen breaking lower, we're looking at Euro yen breaking lower. I'm starting to think, what if we cover our bases and look for pound yen to test and reject back up again? Right? Then, if that's the case, just because of pound yen in that move, I would say in 191, stop loss 90 pips. So you definitely want to size down on this. take profit 222 to the upside. That's what you could be looking out for on the pound yen. Hey Lydia, how you doing? Hey AYJ, good morning. So that, okay, I'll keep that. Then onto the US Swiss franc. Remember again, this week we have the Swiss National Bank with their rates decision. You can see what has been happening on the dollar Swiss, on the Swissy. It's pretty much in that channel. So I wouldn't be looking for that to push down yet. I want to see it test. I want to see it trade higher, test that resistance or close to it before possibly selling back down again. Then with that, I would say that could work. Swiss National Bank cutting rates should see the Swiss franc weaken and push up, but could be a telegraphed move. So 8540, stop loss 30, take profit down 106 to the downside. Might take a while, might take a couple of days for that to play out. Okay. Now 8540, 30 to 1, 30 to 105. So buy at 0.8540, stop loss 30, take profit 105 to the downside. Not buy, sell. Sell at 8540, 30 to 105. There we go. Then onto the US CAD, pushing right back up. How annoying is this range? Right? How annoying is this range in along that 1.36 level? Since it came down and rebounded, it's been in this choppy area of 1.36. Now, dollar pushing back up, pushing the CAD up. No CAD news, well, apart from NHPI. No major CAD news for today. Could be looking for it to push back up. Then back down again. Take that one away for now. I think that CAD is going to be choppy in this area. I wouldn't do anything. I think that it's in this range where it really could do anything. Okay, so I wouldn't do CAD for now. I would say I haven't said this for a long time, do nothing on this. Diana have a question on Euro. Why to buy? Consider news was negative. You think better to sell? Just because we've been looking to sell a lot of the other pairs, firstly, and then also with the Euro having that big push, I'm looking at how it's reacting here. You could sell. You could sell. You would if you wanted to. I think what I was trying to convey is that 1.1065, stop loss 20, take profit 60 to the downside. What I'm trying to convey is that as it pushes down to this trend line, you also see that it's way outside of the Bollinger Band. It comes down to this point where we've seen a relatively strong bounce on the euro. Yes, this is after FOMC. We've seen a good small retrace and a bounce here on the 14th, well, on the 16th of September, back up. So I want to see what happens to the euro as it comes down to this level again. If it bounces like this, there is a good buying opportunity because of what happened 2 times before. If not, once it breaks, you can look to sell down. But because we were looking at selling, I don't want to go sell right across the board, and then the dollar weakens, and then we got like, oh, what trade to get into. So that's why I'm considering the euro as a possible bounce from that 1.1075 level as a decision point there. Okay, does that make sense? Um, so CAD choppy. Then on gold, look at that, look at that, look at what gold is doing. This was where if it breaks and retrace to that level and hold it, I'll look this out. Yeah, if it breaks, yeah, agreed. Okay, look at this. This is where we were on Monday. This was where we were on Monday last week. 25.78. It sat there. It broke down, and we thought, oh, it's gonna come down. Would it be a good place to sell it down? Is it a big correction? No. Last week we saw gold after breaking new highs, retrace, continued to push up and broke new highs on Thursday, retraced, and then continued to break new highs on Friday at 2600. And through Friday, we saw it continue hour by hour, almost hour by hour, creating new all-time highs on gold. I was scalping it up all the way. Friday had a 26.20 take profit and closed out. That was it. Right? That's why we said gold broke above 2600, needs to breach 2610 to get to 2620. Got to 2620. That was, I think, midnight, or no, just before 11 o'clock on Friday, my time. Gone flat. And now, just because of what's happening on the dollar pushing up, we're seeing gold trying to push back down. Does this mean it is a good time to sell? Absolutely not. Okay, absolutely not. Like I said before, I think you have to be super brave to be selling gold at this point. Trend is very strongly to the upside, right? It's been pushing right up. If you took the fib level down from this point up, 23.6 is below that 2600 level. If you took it from this point, it's also at a 2600 level. If you took it from the most recent move, it's coming close, but then you also, because we had a 2, so you also wanted to break below that 2600 level before you might think about selling gold lower. For now, even if it does push down, I want to see it come down to 2600 and then look for a bounce, or with the way it's behaving right now, it looks like it might just bounce from this point as well. Looks like it might just bounce from this point, but we're going to see it possibly test 2600 to trade back up again. Okay, so gold, we want to look for it. Well, it's currently retracing. Look for possible reaction at 2600. Could, especially for a rebound. If it does break, you could sell it down. I wouldn't yet. I'm trying to, even if it does break, I want to see either a good, strong technical reason of why it's going to correct a lot lower, or a good fundamental reason of why it should correct lower, right? Without those two, I would still be looking for it to bounce off 2600 and trade back up again. Okay. Then on to Aussie Cat. Was it Aussie Cat? Yes, I'm pretty sure it was. Was it Aussie Cat? I lost that message. Oh yeah, Aussie Cat. Okay, cool. Then on to Aussie Cat. We had a look at this. No, let's take all that away. I thought we had a look at this quite recently. Okay, now push that up. That's sitting there. Remember again, Aussie dollar could break lower depending on what could happen tomorrow as well. CAD being very choppy at this point. So Aussie CAD sitting there could break lower. You'll also notice that there is a bit of a channel to that upside. Now resistance was up here. Oops. Resistance was up here. That seems to have held. Okay. And then we have a level down here, which is something to look at. Then we have this whole move up to that point. So Aussie CAD, what I would do is, if it does break out of this channel, quite a good channel, right? If it does break out of this channel, you could look for it to trade lower. You'd be looking at 9 to, hang on, looking at that move up, breaks that point. So I want it to break past this point first, because it's what it bounced off from. Then you'll be looking at, and it's rebounding slightly right now, but I want to see it break down 9230, stop loss tight, 15 at the max, take profit down to 30. Alternatively, I think I know what you're thinking, Diana, is that if it does test and push up, then could you sell it back down again? Oops. Think so, but then you'll be looking at that kind of move at 29255, 15 to 30 to 40 to the downside, or even all the way down to 55 to the downside. I think that 40 to the downside will be the first move. Okay. No worries, Noachuku. Hope you're doing well. Okay. So with all that said, I think the opportunity presents on gold, looking like it's going to rebound again and form a new high. CAD being choppy, Swiss franc pushing up, pound yen deciding, euro yen deciding, US yen deciding. It's not a day for massive trades. Okay, just be patient. Euro dollar pushing down, that's going to form up. We're going to look at that, I think, more closely. Pound dollar could break lower. We're going to look at that more closely as well. 30 minutes, just under 30 minutes to the news. Aussie dollar, RBA decision tomorrow. Kiwi trendline decision. Overall, dollar index testing. It could very well break above 101.40 for further upside to 101.80. Okay, again, I've just been planning the week. I'm thinking of when to do a live session of the YouTube members. So if you haven't already, the link you can see my on the channel, that little join button. You can click on that. Join us as an elite navigator. I do have regular um, live trading streams for elite navigator members, and I've had some good feedback, a couple of good feedback about my book on trading psychology, my ebook on trading psychology. So if you would like to get a copy of that, the link for my mailing list is in the descriptions below. It is available absolutely free to you guys on my mailing list. So please make sure you join that, and then go through the book. Let me know what you think. I would love to. That was my first attempt, so I'd love to do another one as time progresses. So with that, please trade well, trade safe. I'm thinking of keeping the stream running, but it doesn't seem like it's going to do too much. So we'll catch you all tomorrow again. Take care now. Bye bye.